Low energy, rattled, tired, vindictive, weak, defeated. After watching Donald Trump implode this weekend and essentially destroy his own campaign with the worst closing message in history, I had one genuine question on my mind. Is this guy trying to lose? My name is Brett Meiselas with the MeidasTouch Network. Make sure to hit subscribe and help us get to 3.5 million subscribers. Here are the headlines from Donald Trump's disastrous final weekend before Election Day from Politico. Trump returns to his grievances for his closing argument. It was Trump at his most aggrieved and discursive on Sunday as Election Day nears. Two very different Sundays as reported by the Star Tribune. Harris goes to church while Trump muses about reporters being shot. And this from HuffPost, Trump enters final sprint for White House, an unfocused mess. Recent days have had him musing about his critics getting gunned down, to reviving talk about Hannibal Lecter, to declaring he never should have left office. Let me just break down quickly Donald Trump's events on Sunday. On Sunday, he started in Pennsylvania, where he gave this incredibly dark and angry speech. This is where he said that he wouldn't mind if journalists got shot at his rally. It was just so bizarre and dangerous and unhinged. Then Donald Trump went to North Carolina and just seemed so exhausted and defeated the entire time. Probably the lowest energy performance we have seen from Donald Trump yet. That was until his event after that in Macon, Georgia, which was a complete and utter mess as well. Donald Trump struggled to even form basic sentences, like when he ranted about a whistleblower releasing information on the 18 or 800,000 Cobbs plus. See if you can make sense of what he's saying here. Watch this.
All of you people wouldn't have a chance to see before you pull the lever on Tuesday, but a whistleblower released the information on the 800,000 jobs plus. The whistleblower said, there were not 800,000 and 18,000. You add them up, and then you add 100 and think of it.
Huh? And meanwhile, people just were leaving rally after rally. Here were the empty seats in Georgia while Trump was droning on. Watch this.
I've been saying, call this number, that number, early voting, late voting. We should have one-day voting with paper ballots, voter ID, and proof of citizenship. Yes,
People sitting directly behind Trump were falling asleep while he was speaking. Check this out.
You don't hear that often, but our country is going to be so successful. It's going to be so rich. Your taxes are coming down. Your jobs are going up. And we are going to indeed have an economic miracle. And it's not going to be that hard. And it's really something that others do to us. Could you imagine if those numbers, we have the election, and let's say there's a bad result, and then 3 days later we say that almost 1 million jobs got created. I mean, we would say they were fraudulent. They were fraudulent, by the way. If that were a Republican doing that, they'd probably be.
And now let me quickly compare that to Vice President Kamala Harris's event at Michigan State University. Check out this crowd. Definitely different vibes at these events, to say the least, and Vice President Harris is feeling that too. Vice President Harris told the crowd that the momentum is on the side of her campaign. Watch this.
So Michigan, 2 days to go. You ready? You ready? In one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and we have momentum. It is on our side. Can you feel it? And we have the momentum because our campaign is tapping into the ambitions, the aspirations, and the dreams of the American people. Because we are optimistic and excited about what we can do together.
Let's go back to Trump's rallies for a second. Trump in Georgia brought out all the people who lost all the elections in Georgia over the past few years for the Republicans. So he brought like David Perdue, Kelly Loeffler, Herschel Walker, and there's a reason why they all lost. Because they're all terrible candidates. Here was Herschel Walker at Donald Trump's event in Georgia telling everybody to vote for Donald Trump Jr.
And it is time for it to stop. And it stopped on Tuesday when we get to the polls and we vote for my friend and your friend, Donald Trump Jr. Donald J. Trump.
And by the way, at all these events, Donald Trump keeps his crowds waiting and waiting and waiting for him. He shows up like an hour late here, an hour and a half late here. And here's a reporter speaking about Donald Trump running late for his event in North Carolina and saying that his crowds have been smaller and that they've had a lot less energy lately. Watch this.
He was running hugely late, well over an hour to each of his events yesterday. The crowds were smaller. And by the last event, the former president did seem to have a lot less energy. He even joked about whether he should do half of his speech.
And throughout the weekend, Trump didn't even know where he was. Like, it was kind of hard to watch, to be honest. So Trump was in North Carolina and he tried to shout out David McCormick, but there was one problem with that. David McCormick was in Pennsylvania because he's running for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. Watch this.
And you have one of the best of all right here, David McCormick. You know that. Where's David? Is he around someplace? We just left him. He's a great guy.
And then at that same speech in North Carolina, Trump said that he just left another good place in North Carolina, but the place Trump had left was actually Pennsylvania. Watch.
I just left another good place in North Carolina. I had some of the best quips today.
His cognitive decline is increasing exponentially by the day. And it genuinely is very difficult to see this happen to a human being. It's hard to watch. Donald Trump then responded as a person in the crowd shouted out, "Pardon the J6ers, pardon the January 6ers." And Trump, very low energy, was like, yeah.
You'll end up in World War III. Yeah, it's true.
And speaking of those losing candidates that Donald Trump brought out in Georgia, in North Carolina, Donald Trump brought out his loser attorney, Alina Habba, who said that Sundays are for God and garbage, and she's proud to represent America's garbage. Watch this.
Sundays are usually for God, but these days, Sundays are also for God and garbage. So I'm so proud to represent America's garbage.
To me, it doesn't seem all that smart to continue to bring up garbage and remind people that a person at your rally referred to Puerto Rico as a, quote, floating island of garbage. But, keep going, Alina. Keep going, Donald Trump. You're doing great. By the way, we're actually seeing that behavior just like that is further offending Puerto Ricans and the Latino community. Here's an article about how Latinos and Puerto Ricans are feeling about the comments made at Donald Trump's rally in Madison Square Garden, and something here caught my eye. So Donald Trump, of course, went in that garbage truck the other day, if you remember, and put on the outfit, and Puerto Ricans are viewing that as a diss against them because Donald Trump had this garbage, quote-unquote, joke at his event, and then a day or two later, he is dressed as a garbage man. Here is what one Puerto Rican voter told the press. They said they saw Trump's decision to pose in a garbage truck at a campaign stop in Wisconsin the following day as an additional insult. Quote, "If he didn't have nothing to do with it, what's he doing in the garbage truck?" So while Trump and his advisors think that these stunts are brilliant, they are once again backfiring, and backfiring in a massive way. There's a new Univision poll that came out that shows that more than 60% of Latino voters in Pennsylvania support Kamala Harris amid the controversy over calling Puerto Rico a, quote, floating island of garbage at a Trump rally. They say a Univision and YouGov survey shows that 69% of respondents considered comments defining Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage to be, quote, more racist than humorous. Only 17% of respondents viewed the comments as intended jokes rather than serious remarks. Additionally, 71% of Puerto Ricans felt that even if as intended as a joke, these comments suggest that there is racism within Trump's campaign. I'll read you a little bit more from this because it is very informative about what is happening across the country. Here's what Univision has to say about this poll. Latino voters lean heavily towards Harris. When asked who they would vote for in the presidential election if it were held today, 64% of Latino respondents in Pennsylvania indicated support for Kamala Harris, the Democratic candidate, compared to 30% for Donald Trump. The strong preference for Harris reflects growing concerns among Latino voters about respect for their communities, especially following Trump's recent rally where invited speakers made remarks disparaging Puerto Rico and Latino immigrants. By the way, going back to Donald Trump's rallies, Alina Habba also brought up Jeffrey Epstein and said that she wants to see the Epstein Island list.
How about that Epstein's Island list? I want to see that list.
As I said in the beginning, are they trying to lose? Trump hired as labor secretary the prosecutor who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal. He was best friends with Epstein and said he, quote, likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. He said when Ghislaine Maxwell was on trial, I wish her well. And then just this week, there was this bombshell Daily Beast story that we covered here, where there are tapes of Jeffrey Epstein speaking about the fact that he was Donald Trump's closest friend. And these tapes, which were recorded by author Michael Wolff, show Epstein claiming that Trump would like to sleep with his friends' wives and that he first slept with Melania on the Lolita Express. NBC News is reporting that the Trump campaign is concerned about North Carolina, and we are seeing this in the data as well. Brian Anderson reports that Trump has a big turnout problem in western North Carolina. Analysis shows GOP turnout lagging in most Helene counties. Meanwhile, Dems in Helene are exceeding statewide turnout. And I think you could see the enthusiasm gap when you look at Donald Trump's crowd at his rally in North Carolina. Less than 5 minutes into his speech, they started to leave. Watch this.
Followed that sucker school, followed it. But then I said, I'm going to let them just get this. Significant people would do a good job. They did a horrible job under the auspices of these two people. I got to say these two people, but, and you know, right now.
And earlier on Sunday in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump was basically crying over that Seltzer poll, which showed him down by 3 in the state of Iowa. Watch this.
They just announced a fake poll. Hey, think of it. Right before the election, they just announced a fake poll. Hey, think of it. Right before the election.
Trump also told the crowd that it should be illegal to release polls that look bad for him.
The opposite way. I'm way up. If you look at 3-4 months ago, Dan, I was losing states that now are walks. You know, they're now walks. And I think you're going to have that here. It's called suppression. They suppress, and it actually should be illegal because it's, in many ways, it's worse than the written word, which these guys do quite well, actually.
Trump also said that he shouldn't have left the White House on January 20th, 2021.
But my world's favorite chart, done by the Border Patrol, it said we had the safest border in the history of our country the day that I left. I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well. We had such a great.
And Trump made this statement, which has received a lot of attention, and rightfully so, that he wouldn't mind if somebody shot the press at his rally.
I have a piece of glass over here, and I don't have a piece of glass there. And I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind that.
I just want to repeat, this is Donald Trump's closing message to the American people. HuffPost asked Trump's campaign about Trump losing focus in these final days, and they rejected the idea and gave the most ridiculous statement imaginable. I'll read you part of it. This is from Steve Chung, who is a total hack, to be honest. He said, President Trump is the greatest orator in political history, and his patented weave is a brilliant method to convey important stories and explain policies, said Stephen Chung. The media is too stupid and ignorant to understand or comprehend what is happening, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is utterly deranged stuff from Donald Trump, from his surrogates to his spokespeople, and you just see them all flailing. Like, I'll show you one of Donald Trump's other surrogates, Elon Musk, who is saying that SNL having Kamala Harris on their show was illegal. He wrote the following: "It is unfair even if SNL did so unintentionally, given that NBC is allowed to use public airwaves for free." And he was responding to another post saying that what SNL did by having Kamala Harris on the air was illegal. I mean, while people are concerned about Trump going after his political enemies, these are what Donald Trump and his surrogates are actually saying to people. And this is something that they were saying kind of the entire day. Marco Rubio was in Georgia as well, and he said that Kamala Harris going on SNL was a violation of the law. It's so pathetic. Watch this.
This is nothing but a full-scale effort to do everything you possibly can at virtually every major media outlet in America to depress and suppress Republican votes and Trump voters, and to undermine and prevent Donald Trump from being elected. I've never seen anything like it. It's a full-scale assault. Even yesterday, Kamala Harris was apparently on an airplane headed to Michigan. They called her, "Do you want to be on Saturday Night Live?" And they made a U-turn, apparently left a bunch of people stranded, waiting for her. I don't know how many people went to a rally anyway. She probably told them Beyonce was going to be there, so they all showed up, and then, did a U-turn and went to Saturday Night Live, by the way, in violation of the law. But my only hope was, I hope she laughed on Saturday Night Live in front of millions of people, just heard her laughing for a few minutes, because that's probably worth 2 to 3 million votes right there. But
And I'm sure making fun of her laugh is going to help you get those women voters that are fleeing you in droves. Marco Rubio, way to go. Can you feel the desperation? Do you see the collapse that I am seeing right now? I mean, this is pitiful, pitiful stuff. Then you had J.D. Vance out there, and he was saying that Donald Trump would never criticize people for being mean to him, and he would never engage in any sort of censorship or go after his opponents. Have you ever met your own running mate, J.D. Vance? Watch this.
But you know something that Donald Trump will never do? Donald Trump will never go out there and say that his fellow citizens should be censored or silenced for disagreeing with him.
I mean, I could go through a long list of Donald Trump going after his critics, like suing CBS like he is doing currently, or like even just yesterday when Donald Trump was saying that bad polls for him should be illegal. But truthfully, we don't have all day to go through this stuff, and the election's tomorrow. So let's move on. Let's see what Don Jr. was doing. What was his closing message to the American people? Oh, he was going back to the conspiracy theory, the complete and total lie that migrants are eating people's dogs and cats. Seriously, he's bringing this back up.
At this point, we need Republican-like dog catchers. Because who knows what they're going to do with those dogs? We've been seeing the videos. I don't know. They're like, no, Don, how dare you say that was a dog? He's like, it's a dog, it's a cat, it's something with 4 legs and really small. I can tell you what it's not. It's not a ribeye. It's not something any of you have ever barbecued before, I can assure you that. So we'll let the fact checkers do their thing because they'll do it anyway.
And in the midst of all this, the Harris campaign is feeling good. They believe that they are poised to win this close race. They see late deciders breaking for them. They see huge turnout among young voters, among black voters, among women voters. They see a ton of people voting Democratic for the first time. And they say about their ground game, quote, "There is no place in any battleground state where our organization isn't as fulsome as it needs to be." And they are just doing numbers on the ground. This ground game is absolutely off the charts. I only have the Saturday data as of now, but let me read you what happened on Saturday. The Harris campaign knocked on 807,000 doors in Pennsylvania, made 940,000 calls, and knocked 215,000 doors in Wisconsin, made 721,000 phone calls, and knocked 256,000 doors in Michigan. These are just stunning numbers, and somebody who is canvassing canvassing in Michigan online, this guy Chris Evans, said what he was seeing on the ground there in North Carolina. And he wrote, quote, "I've been doing door knocking in North Carolina, and my biggest takeaway is the media and pundits have completely underestimated how much women's reproductive rights are a motivating factor in this election. It has not in any way received the amount of attention that it warranted." And I can't believe the press fell for this idea from Republicans that women would just get over Republicans taking away their rights. In what world was that ever going to be true? Let me show you this North Carolina Republican voter who said that he voted for Kamala Harris because he has been turned away by what the Republican Party has become under Donald Trump. Watch this.
This is the most important election of our lifetime.
Scott Peoples is a self-described conservative, but he says he's made a point of voting early in North Carolina and casting his ballot for Democrat Kamala Harris.
Have just been turned away by what the party's become under Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, and kind of feel like our values haven't changed at all. It's the party's values that have changed.
And speaking of momentum for Vice President Kamala Harris, listen to the crowd in East Lansing, Michigan, when she asks who there had already voted.
So that is my pledge to you, East Lansing. And let me then ask, who here has already voted?
That was a loud room right there in Michigan, I gotta say, and the Harris campaign is not getting complacent. Today, they are holding coordinated concerts in every single swing state, featuring Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Ricky Martin, John Bon Jovi, Andra Day, Christina Aguilera, Los Tigres del Norte, Sophie Tucker, Sugarland, and James Taylor. This is the single best-run campaign I have ever seen in my entire life, and like I said before, they're not getting complacent, so you can't get complacent either. All gas, no brakes. Election day is less than 24 hours away. Let's do this, folks. So first, here's what you got to do. Vote. Also, make sure your friends and your family are voting. I want to also just say thank you to all of the volunteers there on the ground. And if you're able to volunteer, please do it. It's easy. You'll never have to do anything that you don't want to do or that you're uncomfortable doing, and you will literally be taking an active role in saving our democracy. But shout out to all the volunteers. Thank you for everything that you do. All you out there, also remember to subscribe to this channel. Help us get to 3.5 million subscribers. The more subscribers we have, the more people that we can reach with these messages. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you soon.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.